But I am convinced that no challenge poses a greater threat to our future and future generations than killing jobs and businesses and freedom. It's true. If we don't do it, nobody will. We're saying this is going to kill jobs. This is going to destroy businesses. This is going to hurt low-income people. It's going to be wildly expensive. This is going to be hard. Climate change is no longer just about the future that we're predicting for our children or our grandchildren. It's about the reality that we're living with every day, right now. We've heard these same stale arguments before. Levels of carbon dioxide, which heats up our atmosphere, are higher than they've been in 800,000 years. 2014 was the planet's warmest year on record. One year doesn't make a trend, but 14 of the 15 warmest years on record have fallen within the first 15 years of this century. The Pentagon says that climate change poses immediate risks to our national security. We've seen stronger storms, deeper droughts, longer wildfire seasons. We've heard these same stale arguments before. Charleston and Miami now flood at high tide. I'll also be the first American president to visit the Alaskan Arctic, where our fellow Americans have already seen their communities devastated by melting ice and rising oceans. Over the past 3 decades, nationwide asthma rates have more than doubled, and climate change puts those Americans at greater risk of landing in the hospital. This is one of those rare issues, because of its magnitude, because of its scope, that if we don't get it right, we may not be able to reverse. And we may not be able to adapt sufficiently. There is such a thing as being too late when it comes to climate change. But I am here to say that if we want to protect our economy and our security and our children's health, we're going to have to do more. The science tells us we have to do more. We're going to talk about what the world needs to do together to prevent the worst impacts of climate change before it's too late. And by combining this with greater investment in our booming clean energy sector and smarter investments in energy efficiency, and by working with the world to achieve a climate agreement by the end of this year, we can do more to slow and maybe even eventually stop the carbon pollution that's doing so much harm to our climate. No single action, no single country will change the warming of the planet on its own. In December, with America leading the way, we have a chance to put in place one of the most ambitious international climate agreements in human history. But today, with America leading the way, countries representing 70% of the carbon pollution from the world's energy sector have announced plans to cut their greenhouse gas emissions. We have to get going. It's exactly the kind of challenge that's big enough to remind us that we're all in this together. Sister Joan Marie Stedman has helped rally Catholic women across America to take on climate. And she's got a pretty important guy on her side, as Pope Francis made clear in his encyclical this summer. Taking a stand against climate change is a moral obligation. So this is the right thing to do. Today, after working with states and cities and power companies, the EPA is setting the first ever nationwide standards to end the limitless dumping of carbon pollution from power plants. With this clean power plan, by 2030, carbon pollution from our power plants will be 32% lower than it was a decade ago. Nearly a dozen states have already set up their own market-based programs to reduce carbon pollution. So we're giving states the time and the flexibility they need to cut pollution in a way that works for them. And we'll reward the states that take action sooner instead of later. Right now, our power plants are the source of about a third of America's carbon pollution. That's more pollution than our cars, our airplanes, and our homes generate combined. That pollution contributes to climate change, which degrades the air our kids breathe. For the sake of our kids and the health and safety of all Americans, that has to change. For the sake of the planet, that has to change. Now, let's be clear. Now, I don't want to fool you here. Folks who are older than me can remember scaremongering tactics. The Cuyahoga River burning because of pollution. So we got to learn lessons. We got to know our history. And we're the first generation to feel the impact of climate change. We're the last generation that can do something about it. We only get one home. We only get one planet. There's no plan B. I don't want my grandkids not to be able to swim in Hawaii or not to be able to climb a mountain and see a glacier because we didn't do something about it. I don't want millions of people's lives disrupted and this world more dangerous because we didn't do something about it. This is our moment to get this right and leave something better for our kids. And there will be critics of what we're trying to do. They will claim that this plan will cost you money, even though this plan, the analysis shows, will ultimately save the average American nearly $85 a year on their energy bills. They'll claim we need to slash our investments in clean energy. It's a waste of money, even though they're happy to spend billions of dollars a year in subsidizing oil companies. They'll claim this plan will kill jobs, even though our transition to a cleaner energy economy has the solar industry, to just name one example, creating jobs 10 times faster than the rest of the economy. They'll claim this plan is a war on coal to scare up votes, even as they ignore my plan to actually invest in revitalizing coal country and supporting health care and retirement for coal miners and their families and retraining those workers for better paying jobs and healthier jobs. Communities across America have been losing coal jobs for decades. I want to work with Congress to help them. There will be critics of what we're trying to do. This is going to be hard.